We were all shocked to read reports that Teyana Taylor and Aaron Pierre split up over the holidays. They did. That is such a hot couple gone to waste. They are so, together. They were so beautiful. They dated less than a year. But here's the part that took me out. Women are already flooding Aaron's comments, trying to get his attention, because he posted a very, very fine as hell picture of himself. All right, that's what he posted. So one comment said, "We heard you're single now. You taking any application?" Another said, "If you ever need a shoulder to cry on." Another woman said, "If you need a friend to talk to, I'm here."
At first, it felt like a comeback story everyone wanted to believe in. After a painful divorce that unfolded under relentless public scrutiny, Teyana Taylor finally appeared to be breathing again, not performing happiness, not proving strength, just quietly moving forward in a way that felt honest and earned. So when whispers began about her growing close to Aaron Pierre, fans didn't respond with suspicion. They responded with hope. This didn't feel like just another celebrity relationship. It felt like healing emotion, like proof that heartbreak doesn't always get the final word. For Teyana, this connection carried real emotional weight. It wasn't casual, it wasn't hidden. It symbolized survival after deep emotional exhaustion. After years of being composed, protective, and strong while the world analyzed her every move as a wife, a mother, and a public figure, Aaron represented something softer. New energy. A clean emotional slate. Fans noticed the shift immediately. Her smile looked different, lighter, less guarded. The kind of smile you don't force because you don't need to explain it. At first, everything about them felt intentional. The way they appeared comfortable around each other. The subtle public moments that didn't scream for attention but still felt meaningful. People weren't just watching a couple. They were watching a woman rebuild her sense of self, and because of that, expectations grew fast. Too fast. When hope is placed on something still fragile, even small cracks feel devastating when they appear. And those cracks didn't show up loudly. They rarely do. There were no dramatic statements, no public fights. Instead, fans noticed distance before drama. Less interaction, less warmth. A subtle shift in tone that couldn't be explained but could be felt. At first, people brushed it off. They assumed privacy. Busy schedules, the normal ebb and flow of adult relationships. But then rumors began circulating quietly. Not gossip, but concern. The kind that spreads when people sense something is off but don't want to believe it yet. When news finally surfaced that Aaron had ended the relationship, it landed heavy. Not because breakups are shocking, but because of the timing. And because of what came next. It wasn't just that he walked away, it was that he appeared to move on quickly. Too quickly. And when word spread that another woman was already in the picture, the narrative shifted almost instantly from sadness to humiliation. That detail changed everything. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a relationship ending naturally. It felt abrupt, disrespectful, like Teyana didn't just lose a partner, she lost the sense of emotional safety she had carefully built around this new chapter of her life. Fans reacted with disbelief not only because they cared about her, but because they could feel how deeply this cut. Starting over emotionally takes courage. Being discarded mid-healing takes something else entirely. At first, Teyana stayed quiet, and that silence spoke volumes. Anyone who has followed her journey knows she isn't impulsive with her emotions publicly. She processes privately. She reflects before she reacts. So when she didn't immediately respond, fans understood that she was hurting deeply. Silence wasn't peace. It was containment. And containment doesn't last forever when pain keeps pressing against it. Social media, as always, filled the gaps before she did. Fans analyzed everything. Old photos, captions, likes, unfollows, deleted posts suddenly felt louder than statements. Every move Aaron made was scrutinized. Every appearance of the other woman was magnified. And while Teyana said nothing, the internet said everything for her, often without mercy. What pushed the situation from sad to messy was the emotional whiplash. One moment, fans were celebrating her healing. The next, they were watching it unravel publicly. And the embarrassment that comes with being replaced, especially when you are still emotionally exposed, is something few people handle quietly. Fame doesn't soften that pain. It amplifies. When Teyana finally cracked, it wasn't calculated. It wasn't polished. It felt raw, unfiltered, emotional, and that's what shocked people the most. This wasn't the controlled, graceful version of strength fans were used to seeing. This was anger mixed with heartbreak, disappointment mixed with pride. The kind of emotional eruption that happens when someone feels blindsided after finally allowing themselves to be vulnerable again. Some fans described her reaction as losing it, but that framing misses the point. This wasn't chaos for attention. This was emotional overload finally escaping. When someone holds themselves together for too long, the release is rarely quiet. It's sharp. It's messy. And it doesn't ask permission to be understood. What made it worse was Aaron's response or lack of one. He didn't rush to clarify. He didn't publicly acknowledge the emotional fallout. His silence felt cold to many fans, especially given how quickly he appeared to move forward. Whether intentional or not, that silence made the situation feel one-sided. Like closure was denied. Like answers were withheld. That's when fan bases really split. Some argued that no one owes anyone forever and that Aaron had the right to move on. Others felt his timing showed a lack of empathy, especially considering where Teyana was emotionally. But the debate wasn't really about him anymore. It was about whether vulnerability deserves care, even after love ends. What made this breakup hurt more than her divorce, according to many fans, was expectation. Divorce comes with preparation. Breakups after healing come with hope. And when hope is taken away suddenly, it feels crueler than pain you already braced yourself for. Old wounds resurfaced quickly. Feelings of being misunderstood, replaced, emotionally dismissed. Everything she had tried to put behind her came rushing back. That's the danger of rebound relationships, not because they are wrong, but because they often carry unresolved weight from the past. When they fail, they don't just hurt on their own. They reopen doors you worked hard to close. The internet didn't help. Memes, think pieces. Commentary videos, everyone had an opinion. Everyone had a theory. And while some voices tried to be compassionate, others treated her pain like entertainment. Watching someone unravel emotionally shouldn't feel satisfying. But online culture often rewards spectacle over empathy. Teyana's single quotes S emotional explosion wasn't about jealousy. It wasn't about control. It was about dignity, about feeling discarded after finally believing she was safe to love again. And when dignity feels threatened, emotions rise fast and loud. What fans saw wasn't weakness. It was humanity. Aaron, on the other hand, became a symbol rather than a person. To some, he represented emotional irresponsibility. To others, bad timing. But what became clear was that he underestimated the emotional impact of how things ended, especially under public scrutiny. This situation revealed something deeper about how unforgiving public breakups can be. Particularly for women, men are often allowed to move on quietly. Women are expected to grieve gracefully. When they don't, they're labeled unstable instead of hurt. What's really discussed is how exhausting it is to always be the strong one. Teyana had already survived a public divorce. She'd already rebuilt herself once. Being asked implicitly to do it all over again publicly felt unfair. And that frustration showed. As days passed, her energy shifted again. Less explosive, more guarded. Like someone who realized too much had spilled and instinctively pulled back to protect what was left. Fans noticed the withdrawal, the emotional fatigue, the awareness that some moments, even when they come from truth, are ones you wish you could take back. So where does this leave her now? Probably tired, wiser, more guarded. Less willing to rush healing or romanticize fresh beginnings that look good on the outside but cut deep on the inside. Pain is a way of teaching boundaries quickly. And this breakup didn't just close a chapter, it exposed how tender she still was beneath the strength. Everyone praised. It revealed how easily hope can turn into humiliation when timing is careless. And emotional safety is ignored. Fans watching from the outside were reminded of an uncomfortable truth. Healing isn't a straight line. You can survive years of heartbreak, rebuild yourself piece by piece, and still shatter in a single moment when you least expect it. This wasn't about weakness. It was about being human. About trusting again too soon. About believing calm meant safety, only to realize the ground was never steady. Teyana had done the work, or so it seemed. She was focused, disciplined, intentional, but healing doesn't mean numbness. It doesn't make you immune to disappointment. Sometimes it just means the pain hits differently, quieter, sharper, harder to explain, and, despite what headlines suggested, this story was never really about Aaron choosing another woman. That was just the spark. The real story was what that moment forced Teyana to confront, that she had delayed choosing herself fully, hoping patience would protect her from another emotional blow. Instead, it left her exposed at the exact moment she needed gentleness. Reassurance and emotional safety, not shock. The internet latched onto the explosion, but that wasn't the real story. The real story lived in the quiet before it. The silence. The doubts left unspoken. The fragile trust. The hope that this time would be different. By the time everything collapsed, the damage was already there. What fans witnessed wasn't drama. It was the cost of trying to heal too soon. Healing doesn't make you immune to pain. Sometimes it makes you vulnerable again, and that vulnerability, when mishandled, can hurt more than the heartbreak you thought you had already survived.